Welcome to Invest Out West podcast. I'm Nat Micken.
And I'm Kahlia Micken. We are a husband and wife team who live and invest in Western Queensland.
Join us on our journey of creating passive income through mindset, business, crypto, and property investing. Welcome to Invest Out West episode number 34.
The quote we'd like to leave with today is from Steve Jobs, and he says, "Great things in business are never done by one person. They are done by a team of people."
Yeah, today we're just going to do a couple of book reviews. So we've just got a book each that we've recently read, and neither one of us has read the other book, so it's just going to be simply one person, one book, and we're just going to go into a little bit of detail on each book. And they're sort of books that we would recommend to other people, so that's why we chose these books to cover today. So, Kahlia, did you want to start with yours?
Yeah, so the book that I've chosen to speak on is Who Not How by Dan Sullivan, and in collaboration with Dr. Benjamin Hardy. So just to give a bit of context, at the end of 2024, when we were sort of sitting down thinking about, what we wanted to achieve for 2025, one of my ambitions was that I would read one, business or personal development book per month. So I want to read a minimum of 12 books this year that contribute to business or personal development. And so the first one that I chose to read in January was this book, Who Not How. And I don't know if it was because I had specifically made a very clear goal or what it was, but I did. I read this Who Not How book, and I finished it before the end of January. So Who Not How is all about how we can grow our businesses and even in our personal lives by changing our mindset from saying, how can we do something, to who can help me do this? And the book itself is a great example of precisely that. Even though the author is Dan Sullivan, he didn't actually write the book. It says it in the book itself. Even though he is the primary author, he didn't see the book until it was almost done. He didn't write one word. He was just the leader of it, and he outsourced the writing to Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And so I thought it was a really, really good, a good book to put out there, because Dan Sullivan lives by his own word. He put this book out, but he didn't write it. He went and sourced out his who to write the book for him. And the book leads by saying to ask yourself the question, who can help me achieve this? And it comes across with everything that we do in life. Who can help me achieve? Who can help me achieve this? And he says that who creates results, whereas how creates problems. And as I started to read this book, I really started to think about our own lives and our own businesses. You may have heard us speak before that we have two full-time VAs, so two full-time virtual assistants who work for Nat and I, and they do a pound of work across all of our businesses and right through, for example, they are the ones who edit this podcast for us and do all the posting and manage all of our social media. And as I was reading this book, it really, really instilled into me the importance of having these two people who work behind the scenes for us, because they take a load of work and of time-consuming jobs off our hands, and it frees us up to do a lot more of the heavy lifting, to do a lot more of the moving and shaking. But the more that I got into this book, the more that I realised that I have to really, really focus on the who's. Every time a new task would come up, the first thought that crosses our mind is, how can I achieve this? But we really need to change our mindset and really focus on who can help me do this. And I've been very conscious of this as I've gone throughout this year, even during reading this book and after reading this book, of how much more can I outsource to my VAs. And that's what they're there for. They are our support team. And how can we get them to take more load off us so we can do more heavy lifting? There's a really good story that starts out in the book. It's of a 16-year-old boy, and it says that he was being raised in middle-class America. And the family virtually lacked nothing, but he wanted to earn his own cash, and he was onto his father about getting a job, and his dad simply replied and said, "I don't want you to get a job." And the kid kept saying, "But I want money." And his dad told him that he had to, if he wanted money, that he had to go to the watermelon farms and ask the growers if he could buy all the irregular sized watermelons. And so off he went. He went and got all these watermelons, and when he come back, he went and got a a full van load, I think it says, it was a full van load of watermelons, and he brought them back to his hometown and he started selling them. And he, in a few short hours, it said that he sold his entire supply, and he had made more money during that one van load of watermelons than what he would have made over the whole summer of being a wage earner. And I really admire his father for having that view. Like he didn't push on his son just to have, like we would call that a normie view of just go and get a job and just work a 9 to 5. He really made his son sort of think outside of the box and really think, how can I capitalize on my time to make it more viable. And as it says, one carload of watermelons was more money than what it was for him working for the minimum, like for a wage throughout the whole entire summer. And so it goes on to say in the book that how is linear and slow, whereas who is non-linear, instantaneous and exponential. And that's exactly it. And I know within myself, with stuff that I do, with the businesses that we've got, and even the investments that we've got, when something new comes up, often it's new to us because we don't know anything about it. And so, for example, for me, like we do a lot of marketing, of course, for all of our businesses, and I know nothing about marketing, and I've had to learn a lot. But now I look back and I think, how much further could we be along if I had the vision to understand how to outsource it and who to get on your side. And even now, like in our businesses, that's what our VAs do. Like that's part of their roles, is to do a lot of the marketing, and it frees us up no end when you can really outsource it, and when you can find them who's to help you in your business. And the book says here that how limits you to your own knowledge and capabilities. And I really reflected on that, because with our team and myself, like I talk to them all day long, and if I get an idea, they're often the first people who I run it past, because they have a different perspective, and they can sort of really shine a different light on it, and then we'll have a discussion about it, and then we'll work out a plan. And I often think to myself, if I didn't have them there as part of my who's, would any of these ambitions and these thoughts and ideas come to life? And we know quite often that they wouldn't, not only from an ideas perspective, but from a time perspective as well. There's a quote in the book that says, you pile up enough tomorrows and you find you are left with nothing but a lot of empty yesterdays. And that's it. It really, really ties into the who, because we've all only got 24 hours in a day, and we've all only got a certain amount of time to punch through the work that we need to do. And so often, if we don't have enough support behind us, it just rolls on to the next day. And that's what it says. It just rolls into empty yesterdays, because you simply cannot have enough time in the day to do what you want to achieve. And then it goes on to talk about procrastinating. And that's another big thing. If we're not skilled enough to know how to do a certain task, that's exactly what it leads to, is procrastination. And like that's the biggest production killer that ever was, is procrastination. And I even find myself too, that I find that if I talk to my team about something that I've got on the go, I find that sort of irons out any procrastination. I give them, I share with them my thought, and then we take it from there. And it sort of irons out any procrastination. Is this going to be good? Is this going to be bad? How are we going to tackle this? And so I was so inspired about. I was so inspired reading this book, because it really, really opens your eyes that the sky's the limit. And like I know for myself, there is still so much that I need to outsource. Like that we could have exponential growth if I could understand and if I could learn better within myself, and even come over the mindset of the who, not how. Like of who can I get to do this? And he talks a lot about getting over the cost, like the investment of the who's, because this is it. Like nothing comes for free, but how much can you free up yourself if you're willing to make that investment into someone else? In the book, he says, how would your goals, your confidence, your income, your time, your sense of purpose, your quality of relationships change if you were able to find these hows in your life? He speaks in the book of a I can't exactly remember the profession, but of a high-end bloke who had a housekeeper. And so that's all she was. She was just simply the housekeeper. And he got this epiphany one night. He said, well, what if I could get my housekeeper to do so much more? Right from washing his car and having all his meals prepared. And there was a whole range of different things. And the book tells us that it absolutely turned his life around when he was just willing to outsource more and more of the mundane things that consume our daily life. There's the quote in the book that it says, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I guess just throughout the whole book, I was really, really, I guess, grateful for the reflection of when we have a task that comes to mind. If we sit and ponder, then that's when something bigger and better will come to us. So I've got, so many pages folded over in the book. I could go on and on and on, but I guess the real crux of the book was consider our outsourcing as an investment, not a cost. It does have the quote in the book where it says treat your employees as an investment, not a cost, and that's exactly right. With every single day that my employees are coming to work, it's not a cost to us; it's an investment, because how much is that freeing me up to go on and to do bigger and better things? So, I mean, I could talk all day. I really did love this book, and I think it's something that I have to be dedicated to reading over and over again, because we know that as humans we are very prone to forgetting. But it is so good, and I was so grateful that with everything that we do, it can always be outsourced. There's always someone out there who can do what we need to do to grow our businesses and to grow our investments and these sorts of things. So if you haven't read Who Not How, and if you want to really achieve bigger goals, I would really encourage you to get it. I will leave a link below so you can jump on and purchase it, and you know exactly what book I'm talking about. But yeah, it was brilliant, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I think it'll be on my goal list moving forward to read it every single year. As we go forward, and it's always a timely reminder to always remember that time is money. So if we can outsource from our how to a who, then we will be able to generate more income.
Yeah, that was really good. Who Not How is a book that it comes up a lot in business circles, and that a lot of people recommend it that we listen to, and that sort of thing. So that's why we decided to get the book. And like Carly's been saying, it's incredible insights in there, and I'm yet to read it, but I want to read it in the near future. So going on to my choice of book is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And that is another book that seems to be highly recommended in business circles and people who we listen to. It's a book that a name that we've often hear, and so I think it was last year I read this book, and it's an incredible book also, just about how to deal with people, and it's just like it goes through that many different instances and that many different case studies in the book about how to deal with people without getting on their wrong side. I guess you could say, for a want of a better term, not piss them off, and so I just believe it's highly recommended for anybody who is dealing with people like bosses, parents. I believe it's a good book even for parents, because there's case studies in the book about how to deal with problem children, that sort of thing. It's sort of really a book about human psychology more than anything, I guess. And it was first published in 1937, and even though it was published, in the 30s, it's just as relevant today as what it was back then, because human psychology doesn't change, human nature doesn't change over the years. So I just believe that it'll last into the future forever, pretty much. I'll go and read a couple of bits out of the book now. So on page 111, it says, there is a certain degree of satisfaction in having the courage to admit one's errors. It not only clears the air of guilt and defensiveness, but often helps solve the problems created by the error. And it focuses very heavily on that that type of thing where it's all about making the other person not feel like a fool, and making sure that we sort of, because everybody stuffs up, and it just makes the whole situation a lot better if we come out first and say that we stuff up as well, and then it makes the other person not feel as bad, so then therefore they're more inclined to admit their mistakes. It goes on, then it says, then it says, if you are wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. And so, when you've got a person who is admitting their mistakes, then it's easy then for everybody else to admit their own mistakes, and sort of nobody's on the defensive, and things get sorted out quickly. It goes on then in chapter 2 of part 4. So there's different parts of the book. In chapter 2 of part 4, it talks about how that the chapter is called "How to Criticize and Not Be Hated for It," and there's a lot about that sort of thing as well in this book, about how to not get people's backs up when you're trying to tell them something that they know is wrong, or that they mightn't even know is wrong, but it's about not making them look foolish. The chapter starts off and says, Charles Schwab was passing through one of his steel mills one day at noon when he came across some of his employees smoking. Immediately above their heads was a sign that said, "No smoking." Did Schwab point to the sign and say, "Can't you read?" Oh no, not Schwab. He walked over to the men, handed each one a cigar, and said, I'll appreciate it, boys, if you will smoke these on the outside. They knew that he knew that they had broken the rule, and they admired him because he said nothing about it and gave them a little present and made them feel important. Couldn't keep from loving a man like that, could you? End quote. So, it's about dealing with people that know they're on the wrong, and not making a big deal about it, but actually making them feel sort of like they're in the driver's seat, and then because they feel like they are in the driver's seat, then they're more inclined to do what you want. So it's sort of like more reverse psychology rather than anything else. And then in chapter 3 of that same part, it says, at the end of the previous chapter, it says, call attention to people's mistakes indirectly. And then chapter 3 says, talk about your own mistakes first. And that's something else that's heavily focused on in the book, is just making sure that people know that you always that you stuff up as well, and so therefore that they don't feel as bad, sort of thing. So it's that's sort of what the book is very focused around, is about making people not feel as bad, so then therefore they're more inclined to come out and admit their wrongs, and then do really what you want them to do. And that's sort of what the title of the book is, like how it says, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and it's more about influencing people. A lot of the teachings in this book, influencing people to do what you want them. What you want them to do, without actually sort of getting cranky and telling them in a manner that would make the whole situation blow up. It's a very incredible book, and I just think it's a book that just needs to be studied over and over again. I like to just go flick through it every now and again, and just remind myself of some of the lessons in the book. Because it's it's like a lot of the teachings in this book is against human nature, and it's important to sort of just keep on top of these human nature traits that we have, and then we get on better in life if we're able to sort of do what this book says, and go about things in a completely different manner to what we'd normally do, and what our pride might tell us to do, but in the long run we actually win, because we're actually getting things done that we're wanting people to do, and with little fuss. So, yeah, I like Kahlia said about her book, I highly recommend this book as well, because it's just it's nearly compulsory reading for people that want to get on with people better, and people that deal with other people and that sort of thing. Kahlia, were we going to put a link for this book as well?
We'll drop it in the bottom as well. Yeah,
rightio. So look out for that book as well. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. So that's probably about all I really had to say. Did you have anything to add to that before we wrap up?
No, not a lot really. I just encourage you, like if you aren't someone who reads, what do they call it, non-fiction books, to really jump in, because they would change your life and change your mindset like you would not believe. And so both Nat and I, we sort of have a very strict policy that we, reading books for fun is not really something that we do. For myself, fun books is usually only for around Christmas time, when you're sort of pulling back and having a bit of a break. The rest of the year is just all about how can I grow, like how can I help my mindset and help my personal development by reading these awesome books. And they're all out there for everybody to read, and I just highly encourage people to take advantage of that and to really start to hone in on your personal development.
Yeah, definitely so. I just thought of something that somebody said. I can't remember who said it, and I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before even. They said that the average city library has just as much information as the most prestigious university on Earth. So, and it's just all through books. And so, if you're sort of disciplined in reading, like informative personal development type books, then you really can't go wrong. You're definitely going to win. So, yeah, just encourage people to to read this type of material, and just keep going, because it's vital really to keep improving, because if we're not improving, we're going backwards. So yeah, that's about all we've really got on this one, and keep living the dream.